Good afternoon. My name is Kim Ferrante. I'm the Performance Excellence Manager for Cigna, the global health services company. I specialize in creating a work environment where people are enabled to perform to the best of their ability by providing them with the tools and the resources that help them to reach their own potential. And in doing so, I'm able to help each employee and the organization meet their enterprise goals as envisioned by our senior leadership teams. And this is where my story begins. Although I have many years of experience managing and leading teams through my military and civilian work efforts, I never really saw myself as a human resource advocate until one day in 2015, I accepted a new role that provided support to the Performance Management Director at Cigna. Little did I know that this position would lead to an absolutely transformational experience in my life, altering the way I looked at performance, not only in the workplace, but also in my own personal and professional life. 1 year earlier, in 2014, Cigna adopted a cutting-edge approach to performance called growth mindset that placed its roots in a concept coined by Dr. Carol Dweck. Dweck observed the learning environments of thousands of children, identifying that when students believed they could get smarter, they understood that effort was the catalyst that made them stronger. This caused them to invest extra time and energy into their learning, which eventually led to higher achievements in school. But to further understand the concepts of growth mindset, we must, in all fairness, also explore the contrasting approach of maintaining a fixed mindset. Those with a fixed mindset believe that abilities and talents are just characteristics you're born with, and there's really not much you can do about that. Just like a person's height or their eye color, all of our potential is packaged up in our DNA, and if we're ever challenged by a specific task or action, it would be very difficult to develop the skills needed to overcome that challenge. As studies in neuroscience advance, reports show us that the brain is far more malleable than we ever realized. The plasticity of the brain has shown that connectivity between neurons can change with experience. Once new connections are made, it strengthens existing connections and builds the insulation that speeds the transmission of those impulses. These studies have shown us that we can increase our neural growth by the actions we take, like using good problem-solving strategies, asking questions, and developing situational insight. This is one of the key tenets to performance management at Cigna. But why is that so? What effect does maintaining a growth mindset have on the performance within an organization? Well, to start with, your mindset influences goal selection and achievement. It provides people with the drive to prove themselves, which can affect the type of work an employee accepts, believing they will do whatever it takes to succeed. It allows them to interpret their efforts and struggles as opportunities, but it also indicates a deeper level of learning. But most importantly, it affects how people react to challenges and setbacks. Those who practice looking at things with a growth mindset see struggles as opportunities, and they learn how to improve. This provides inspiration to stick with the challenge, to analyze what went wrong, and to develop insight through their learning that can be applied to situations in the future. So earlier I mentioned that this concept of growth mindset was transformational for me. I'd like to share a little story about my own background. In addition to my role here at Cigna, where I strive to develop the performance of others, I also serve with the Michigan Army National Guard, where I manage over 30 soldiers. In the military, we're required to maintain a certain level of fitness, so it's always been a goal of mine to maintain a level of excellence and set the example for those that I lead. I've always enjoyed being active, but this summer, I decided to take on a challenge that I was not yet convinced I could achieve. On my birthday this June, I registered for a cycling race called the One-Day Ride Across Michigan, or ODRAM for short. This one-day ride required me to cycle approximately 150 miles from one side of the state to the other in just one day. My husband thought I was crazy, as I thought I was crazy too, but it was a really great goal that I had set for myself, and I wanted to meet that goal. Would I falter? Could I make it that far? The longest distance I had ever ridden in one day was a century ride, which is approximately 100 miles long. So I knew that this would be 50% longer than anything I had ever accomplished before. 2 months later, on August 10th, sandwiched between schoolwork, military duty, responsibilities to Cigna, and my personal life, I met my goal and completed the ODRAM in 12 hours and 30 minutes, only 30 minutes longer than my original estimate. I was ecstatic. I did it. I accomplished something that I had never done before. But now what? I needed a new challenge to overcome. I did a lot of deliberation to this next goal, but with my background of running and cycling, it seemed the logical next step, a triathlon. But wait, there is no way I can do this. As I debated in my head, I told myself, Kim, you are a horrible swimmer. There is absolutely no way you could endure over a mile of swimming in the cold Michigan lakes. I agreed with my devil's advocate for a period of time. I was forced to take swimming lessons as a child, but I always struggled in the pool. I hated the cold water and I dreaded the dial-a-ride bus that would come to pick me up every summer morning. I just wasn't meant to be a swimmer. Until I discovered a vlogger named Taryn Gazelle. The more I explored the techniques of swimming, the more I saw his video logs pop up on YouTube. Over and over, I heard him emphasize that age group swimmers, like me, are notorious for not feeling comfortable in the water, and he claimed to have the solution to the problem. One day I decided to spend a little time and dig into his strategy for improvement. He told of a story of a swimmer who decided to jump into the triathlon circuit and spent years trying to perfect his swim event, but he never really felt comfortable in the water, always struggling. This individual was himself. Eventually, he found a trainer who helped him to understand that he never really learned the basics of swimming, such as proper breathing and technique. His drills began with very basic bubble breathing exercises and kicks at the edge of the pool, in the shallow side. He expected us to do the same. He said to always tell yourself, you're not a bad swimmer. You're just a developing triathlete. I thought, how stupid. I'm going to feel like an idiot in the shallow end while all these adults come to swim lap after lap after lap. I kept saying, there is no way you'll ever be able to swim the way that these people swim. But this negativity weighed heavily in my mind. As I thought back to all of the running and cycling goals that I had met over my lifetime, what exactly did I think was holding me back from this experience? And then I realized it was my own fixed mindset getting in the way. Eventually, I took a deep breath and I focused my mind and decided that I cannot live my life in fear of swimming, and, in particular, any great length of distance, and decided to try his approach. I spent 2 weeks on very basic childlike drills to get my body comfortable with the water. Per Taryn's guidance, I invested in my own set of swim fins, a pool buoy, I had no idea what that was, and a freestyle snorkel. Really? Snorkeling in a pool as an adult? Okay. So the first few days were really hard. I forced myself to trust Taryn's training regimen. Even though it was hard for me to give in, I forced myself to enter the uncomfortableness that I had always grimaced at. Day after day, I felt like my skills were advancing. I celebrated my little victories every morning, and now, 4 weeks into the program, I've grown to appreciate the feeling of buoyancy, and I can easily swim 1,600 meters of drills over an hour while using the training aids. My drills are still very basic, and I'm still really slow at what I can do, but the more I work at it, the more I see the concept of growth mindset in this new goal that I've made for myself. As beneficial as this experience has been for my personal fitness, it has given me an expanded dimension on one key area that I support day in and day out. Each time we discuss the meaning of maintaining a growth mindset, I'm encouraged to talk openly about my mistakes, and I feel more comfortable sharing how I've learned from them. I've learned that we are all experiencing our own journeys towards improvement. This is our own race, and it is important that we try not to compare ourselves to others, but rather we must compare ourselves from today to ourselves from yesterday, and regularly identify our success regardless of the personal or professional nature. Finally, I'd like to leave you with a quote from Alfred P. Sloan, longtime president, chairman, and CEO of General Motors Corporation, who once said, "There has to be this pioneer, the individual with courage, the ambition to overcome the obstacles that always develop when one tries to do something worthwhile, that is, new and different." Thank you very much for your time today.